Check Podcast, episode 44.
Woo!
The gang is back together.
Back together.
Yes.
It's been a long time since the three of us been on the couch.
I was gonna say
It has.
same
Everyone.
time.
So, I mean, you first were in
Texas being a cowboy.
and then Rashawn just came back from Colombia.
What you doing in Colombia?
I was celebrating my engagement.
Woo! Congratulations.
Yes. So I
Shout out to Mary,
Shout out to Mary.
making her an honest woman.
Yes.
Respect.
I'm off the market, guys.
Mary's in the audience
Officially.
tonight.
Yes. Shout out to Mary.
Might hear a little chuckle. Shout out to Mary.
Shout
She's
out to
giggling
Mary.
right now.
Yes. It's amazing. A lot to celebrate. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year,
Yes.
2023.
Merry Christmas too.
Happy
Merry
New Year and a
Christmas.
Merry Christmas to all our listeners and followers and lovely supporters.
Absolutely.
We thank you all. And, you know, we just recently celebrated our 1 year anniversary.
We did.
But, you know, now we could bring in the new year right
Absolutely.
with a really good episode.
Second run.
To another year of Rich Check Podcast.
There we go.
To another
Partner
year of
guys.
Rich Check Pod. Yes. We have a very, very special guest.
We do.
But before we get there, I'd like to introduce the trio.
Absolutely.
I am Rashawn,
I'm Ben.
And I'm Perry.
and we make up the Rich Check Podcast.
Yes, we do.
On the couch with us tonight, we have Mr. Carlos Ramirez.
What's up, guys?
Shout out to Carlos Ramirez. Thank
Yes.
you for the show tonight.
Round of applause.
Absolutely. First guest
yeah.
of the new year.
Yes,
Thank you
first
for
guest of the
having
new
me.
year.
Excited.
Man, I don't know how to introduce this guy. He just wins.
He does everything.
He does everything.
Wears quite a few
Founder,
hats.
entrepreneur.
Hey, I try. Not to get bored.
Yes, I mean this guy is probably, you know, if this was a Dos Equis commercial,
Most interesting man in the world.
most interesting man in the world, Mr. Ramirez. You know, it's an honor to have you on the couch.
Appreciate it.
And we'll kind of dive into your story because it is an amazing one. We want to celebrate you and your, you know, great contribution to horology.
Very kind.
Being a founder of MEC Watches,
Correct.
in which we will dive into. But before we get into the meat and the potatoes, let's have our wrist check.
Rich check.
Sounds
Rich
good.
Check. Perry got to start.
Perry's got to start
No.
because he's got a banger.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a while.
Yes.
Happy New Year. I am wearing a banger. I'm very happy with this watch. I've been wearing this watch for the last maybe 3 weeks.
Nice.
It was a gift from a really good friend at an amazing watch company. Shout out to Claudio over at Moser,
Yes.
whom we will have on the show very soon this year in the
Yes.
new year. We had the pleasure of having
You
Edward
had Ed on the
Malin,
show.
Shout out to
who
Edward.
interviewed
Shout out
with
to Ed, yes.
with Ben that one
Good
time
dude.
last year.
Very good dude.
And no, this watch is actually quite special because I'm a big believer in this brand. I'm a really big believer. I'm a big supporter. And there hasn't been very many brands that I've been independent, you know, smaller, you know, brands that I've been very, very excited about.
Yeah.
Quite like Moser.
Yes.
I think Moser is incredibly special. I see them as the future.
Yes.
I see them as a company that will take the place of, or at the very least, will be mentioned in the same name as some of the greats whom we mentioned today,
Yes.
of that caliber. But I'm wearing this evening a Endeavor Moser Falcon's Eye
Woo!
Tourbillon.
Woo! Banger.
Double hairspring,
Yes.
leaf hands.
Yes.
What's really great about this timepiece is, and I had a conversation with someone online recently. I posted a picture and they said they made a comment. I'm gonna, you know, hopefully I'll get it as accurate as possible. But they said something to the extent of, what's great about Moser is that they can release a watch with absolutely no branding,
Yes.
and their design language speaks volumes about who they are as the company, that you immediately recognize it without seeing any branding. So the fact that like you could see this watch, there's literally on the front, the case, the dial, it doesn't say anything.
Yes.
It's just art. It's just beauty.
Mm-hmm.
And But if you know, you know. And funny story that I'll share really quickly. I was in DC recently,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll share some footage or some photos from there. And I got to hang out with a gentleman whom we're friends with from afar, but we've gotten to know closely now, Albert Combs, who fostered and created a group in DC called Official CP Time, Cultured Perspective Time. And he had his second annual watch meet at the Tiny Jewel Box in DC. And we're hanging out with all of his dudes. And there was a moment when we went to go take a wrist shot, and I had this under the cuff, and I pull it out, and I kid you not, there was another gentleman there. I can't remember his name, but I know his face. I'll get his name. And he blurts out and he points at me. He says, "That's a effing Moser." And at that point, I knew. I said, well, not only do I probably have the most interesting watch here, but this brand means a hell of a lot to people, and people see it. It's on their radar. They get it, and it's something that they are impressed by. They don't come by often.
No.
And when you see it, you recognize it, and it's like, wow, like watchmaking, true watchmaking is still alive.
As they should. For sure.
Absolutely.
As they should.
So it's been a joy to wear. I know I'm very long-winded, but I'm having a blast, and it's been quite an experience. So shout out to Claudio, shout out to Moser.
Yes.
Thank you for allowing me to wear this watch for the time being.
Absolute killer watch.
Ben, will you
What do you got on, Ben?
yeah.
Would we classify this as a banger?
I think so.
I think so.
So,
I thought you was gonna stand up for this one.
Nah.
You had to move the mic.
so I'm wearing. Shout out to John Tam.
Yes.
Shout out to
Because
John. John's a big supporter of the show.
This guy isn't even here, and this is his watch, and I have it on my wrist.
Mm.
So I'm wearing a watch that he hasn't even gotten a chance to wear yet. He just got it today. And when I told him, yo, we're filming tonight with the guy, he's like, wear it on the show.
Respect.
He said, you
John
have
Tam.
to wear this on the show.
I love John Tam.
Shout out
So
We got to get him on soon.
I
Yes.
haven't even said it. He'll be here, so we can.
Good.
He'll be here next week, which I'm super excited to hang out with him. I haven't even said it yet. I'm going to set it in front of him, with him, for him, because it's a perpetual calendar. It's the new Patek 5320G with the salmon dial.
Woo!
Killer.
So,
Fire.
yes, banger.
Yeah.
Been staring at it the whole time I put it on.
Yes.
White gold case, step lugs. The moon phase is gorgeous. The hands are gorgeous. It's apparently Terry Stern's favorite reference.
Really?
So, yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So it has,
Yes, yeah.
it's, I don't know. It's
I
just,
love
it
all
feels
Pateks.
great.
And,
I know.
and the fact that the predecessor of this watch hasn't been fully loved
Yeah.
by people, at least
It
from
will
what
now.
I'm saying. You know what I mean? Is absolutely mesmerizing to me. Is such a classic, reinterpretation of a proper Art Deco case that is absolutely lovely.
Mhm.
It is great that they did those syringe hands the way that they did it, and this is a proper salmon dial.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
It's
you know
real
what I'm saying?
hands
salmon.
is really what does it for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
This
Yeah,
looks
no,
like it
that
was
piece is
made
great.
in the 40s and just hasn't left.
Yeah,
Totally,
it does.
totally. And the least looking like Patek, those are my favorite
Yeah.
Pateks.
Yeah.
My favorite Patek is the 5235
Mm.
G, which is an absolute gracious watch.
Yeah.
And this is on the same vein.
Yeah. So, John, when you get this watch back, well, when you pick it up next week, it will not be on this shitty brown strap. It'll get the Ben treatment,
Oof.
just so you know.
Bend it out. Bend it out. So I'll go next.
What do you got for us? Miss
Okay.
Never Repeats a Watch.
So
I think he's repeating the watch.
no, I'm actually not.
Woo!
Nice.
Is it
I'm
a
trying
new
to
watch?
I'm trying to uphold my title.
There we go.
You already repeated a couple times. Though.
I have, but within reason.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
What do we got today?
This is a banger. I feel like, and this wasn't planned, guys, for the ones that are viewing, because we got some heat on this couch. Look at man. You gotta zoom in on Perry's face. That's gotta be a meme.
Some heat on his couch.
There's some heat. That should be the name of this episode.
There's some heat on this couch.
Heat on this couch.
There's some heat
I
on
love
this
it.
couch.
That's what it is.
I am wearing the 44 millimeter Ulysse Nardin.
44.
You said
Yes.
that like it's a big thing.
This
Big
is a
boy.
big boy. This is a big boy.
Wow.
Because you guys know I love small
You
watches.
know what's funny is I was hanging out with our producer Ashraf today, and we saw a picture you posted that watch, and he said, "I think this is bigger than the watch I'm wearing." And I was like, "Nah," and it is.
This is a big boy.
Beats it by a millimeter.
Yes.
Yeah.
44 millimeter Ulysse Nardin Diver X timepiece.
Sure.
This is in collaboration with Norona,
Yes.
the apparel company.
Yeah.
Now, what makes this watch very special?
I'm surprised you got that shit over your wrist.
Yeah.
Their Velcro straps are always so short.
Now, that's the thing. It's super short, but I do like my timepieces very tight.
Yeah, that's
So
fine. but how's it
there's
fit
a
over your hand?
struggle.
Cutting off your circulation.
That's what I'm
type.
saying. Yeah.
No. So the thing is this, and I was having a conversation with my guy Hubert and Eddie. Shout out to them. I have big hands, but I have small wrists. So because I'm a larger guy, people are like, "Oh, you're a big guy. You could wear this," and it's like, yeah, I can wear it because of my exterior, but underneath the cuff, I got small wrists. Big hands, small wrists. I'm kind of like a cartoon character.
Okay.
If you draw a stick figure with hands, it's Rashawn.
It's me.
There we
So, so basically, this timepiece, it is big, but it wears really well, which is very strange. I think because of the carbonium bezel, it kind of has like this dome-ish.
Makes it look smaller.
It makes it, it kind of like there's kind of like a curvature. It looks like if you're looking at it here, it looks like an arena. If I can make sense.
Yeah.
But what I love about this timepiece is one of 29 pieces. I think in Ulysse Nardin's kind of like repertoire of timepieces, this is kind of one of their lower numbers of like limited editions and special editions. One of 29 pieces, I actually was able to get my lucky number, which is 12.
Okay.
Very nice.
So this is number 12 of 29.
Respect.
Any idea why 29?
Um,
That's
You-
a not
No.
specific number.
it was very specific. I gotta ask the guys at UN.
What year
I
were they
think that's a
founded?
good question.
I think it had to do with that, no?
With what?
What year were they founded?
There you go.
Oof, it might have been. Like,
I think it's like
it's like it might have.
1829.
No. They're
Mhm.
older than that.
1729.
They're
No.
Some-
Shout out to FX and Romaine. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
Something for the next pod.
Expect the DMs.
yes. But UN, we have a great connection with UN. This
Solid
timepiece,
relationship, yeah.
this timepiece is actually their most sustainable timepiece. So all of the components to the watch are 100% sustainable.
Yes.
So this is a 100% sustainable watch.
Use recycled parts and all
Recycle
that
parts, all of those kind of things. Me being able to grab my lucky number was one that I was like, gotta have this watch. And I don't know what else to say. I'm actually speechless. Like, I haven't taken it off since I acquired it. Love it to death. Super comfortable, very light.
I thought
Kudos,
you-
man.
I thought you were in
Congrats.
your G-Shock for a second when I saw the strap.
No, but that's the thing though.
The
It does
North
look
Face
like
G-Shock.
the North Face G-Shock, which I haven't shared on the show.
It's
So
a
I got a
perfect-
couple more watches to
Perfect
share.
exploration watch.
Perfect exploration watch.
Yeah.
So super excited about this. Shout out to the guys at UN. That's all I got to say about this.
Very nice.
And we got our friend here
We got a friend here, Mr. Carlos,
with a
Thank
very
you.
special watch on the wrist.
with a very special watch on
For
his
sure, for sure. Very, at least for now, unique. Well, right now I'm wearing the MEC 1. This is the first prototype of the MEC 1. MEC is the brand that I founded with my other two partners. And as you guys can see, I'm assuming that you guys are pulling some pictures on the screen. It's a jump hour, and the idea behind the watch on the construction is a stainless steel case, very angular Art Deco design. I like to call it neo Art Deco for the different, reinterpretation of what Art Deco design
Mhm.
should be, in the sense of what would a Art Deco designer from that era, from the 20s, from the 30s, would do with today's technology and materials.
Yes.
And this is my reinterpretation of it, our reinterpretation of it. It has a fully handmade sapphire minute hand, sapphire dial, sapphire hour disc. It has a raw titanium seconds disc, rotating seconds disc. The entire construction of the movement is made out of German silver. It is a fully in-house watch. We developed the entire R&D. We're very grateful for that opportunity. It is with the same team that Mr. Francois Paul uses, and they develop with him from the Bagamond line to the astronomy. So it has that same pedigree, that same DNA, and we're very grateful for that. And actually, one of the very interesting things about this watch is that are the people who help us produce it, because it's not that we have a big manufacturer working with us in order to make these watches. We actually have an chain line of 16 different smaller boutique providers that they really like a story, and they said, we're also very small in the big scheme of things in watchmaking. We're also starting. They have 10, 15, 20 years after they started their company, but with people with a lot of experience. And they said to us, we're quite impressed about the performance of the watch, because most of the time, between 80 to 82% of all prototypes, they don't actually work. And this one is not just that it works, but it keeps better than a chronometer standard timekeeping.
Wow.
So right now is pumping out +3 -4. That, if my mind serves me correctly, the COSC standard chronometer is +6 -4.
Yeah.
So it actually runs better than a certified chronometer. And I think that we took that from the page of many independents saying, listen, one of the first ones that come into mind right now is Francois Paul, that he said, I'm going to put on the name of the chronometer blue and the CS, the chronometer sovereign, the name chronometer, because I don't need anyone else's validation in order to know that this runs better than a COSC or Besaswan or whatever other institution, right? So we're very glad for that. I'm very happy, very proud. And this is just the first iteration. And here it is. I'm wearing it right now. I wear it every day, and the watch hasn't even flinched so far.
It's awesome.
No, it looks great.
Appreciate it, guys.
It looks great. It's
Thank you.
amazing.
So basically, if you own the Journe, you have to have one of these.
I would think it will be a very nice play on it. I think so. Listen, I'm very well aware, because we were actually talking before we started the show. I don't want to just jump into diving into details right now. But I do think that this is a type of watch for a person that already is a well-developed collector.
Sure.
I'm a collector before being part of a watch
for
brand.
someone who's looking for another experience.
Yes.
Correct.
Watch collector.
This is the type of watch. This is not the watch from a person that already got maybe his first watch or first 3 watches.
For sure.
And then he's like, I want to be different. Let me get this. Listen, if you want to get a watch like this, fantastic. But this is not going to have the real appeal of the story for someone like that.
Yes.
It's mostly for the person that already has many things, already has a Journe, it has a G-Shock, it has everything in between, a Gruber 4C to Seiko 5, and it's already looking for something that cannot get in the
It's
market.
for the lover of indie brands.
Correct.
think so.
And
Already
to be
graduated
quite
to the
honest,
point.
that was the main motivation
Yeah.
where that it pushed me to make the brand with my partners, which it was, I called the guys and I said, guys, I'm going to do this. I would love for you guys to be part of it. And they were like, why is it that you want to do it?
Sure.
And the main motivation was, I want to have a watch that doesn't exist. I want to have a jump hour with modern aesthetics. Doesn't exist. Back in the day, we're talking about 3 years ago, the only things that you saw that were proper jump hours were either made by very obscure indies that, very difficult to find or whatever, or they were vintage. They were 36 millimeters, maybe 38. I wear, bigger side watches. I have bigger wrists. So I'm like, I want to see something a little bit different. I don't want to have a module. I don't want to have an ETA and a module on top. I want to be able to buy a watch that even with a sack of money, I cannot not go out there right now and buy.
No, that's
So
awesome.
let's create it. And
Absolutely.
that was the main motivation for it.
That's incredible.
Thank you.
I just want to give a shout out to a company that happens to be a really big supporter of indie brands too. Shout out to Get Bezel. We just passed. We entered the new year. We're in 2023, and we did a promotion with them.
Yes.
And just want to let you guys out there know that continues into the new year.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are looking for a timepiece and you're looking to spend some Christmas money that you may have gotten from a relative or a loved one or whatever, visit getbezel.com and use the discount code RiskCheckPod.
Yes.
And you get $250 off your first purchase.
Woo! It's a lot of coin.
It's enough coin. So shout out to them.
Attracting enough?
Yes. It definitely is.
Oh,
Anything
yeah.
you can save a little bit. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? And they're big proponents of indie brands. So shout out to them. We have a very close relationship with them, and I love those guys.
Yes.
So let's get into the thick of things. Rashawn.
Yeah. Of course. Carlos, I really would love to kind of dig into your origin story because it's one that's very interesting since, we met. You've been a guy that has been interested in so much and have been very passionate in so many things. The first time we met, we talked about everything but watches.
Indeed.
And it's very hard to find in this kind of industry because everybody's trying to flex their muscle. Everybody's trying to show like what they know, how much they own, etc., and everything under the sun. But, you and I kind of connected on something that was bigger than just something monetary.
Indeed.
So I kind of want to talk about who you are, your core values, and like kind of what has brought you to the place that you are today.
Absolutely. And thank you for the question. Trying to dissect it a little bit. I think that I'm gonna start with saying that my love for watches was innate thing in me because none of my parents, my mother and my father, are not watch collectors, and no one really in my family has this attraction to collecting pretty much anything.
Mm-hmm.
I was always very curious, which is a very politically correct way of saying that I'm a big nerd, and I'm very curious, and I like to learn and make and ask questions, and just trying to find out what is it that it makes me tick, right?
Yeah.
And when I was everything started when I was 6 years old. I was Aventura Mall in Miami, Florida. And I was walking with my parents, maybe buying some Christmas gifts or whatever. And we passed by a Fossil store, and they had, they always have a little bit of a representation of the watches that they have. And I saw this insane thing. It had a rotating bezel that back in the day, I'm like, I don't know what that is. It had some little counters on the inside that it was actually a calendar watch. And this very funny thing in the middle that it ended up being a moon phase. I never seen something like that because my father always wore a Rolex, that it only tells time, beautiful, timeless design, but he never had these complications.
Sure.
So this is my first real response to any watch, right? I've seen my father's, I've seen my mom, but at that very point, they don't even register in my memory because they never generated that level of impact until I saw that. And I'm like, I want that. And my mom looks at me like, you want a watch? Like, you told me that you wanted like a Nintendo or something like that. And I'm like, no. You know what? I changed my mind. I want that. This is so cool. And I put it on, and I couldn't even wear it because it was bigger than my freaking wrist, But and my mom is like, are you really sure? And I'm like, Mom, yeah, this is what I want. It's very cool. You know what I mean? So my mom was a little bit like, thinking about it, not, reluctant about the idea, but she's like, you know what? If I'm not going to be spending the coin on some video game thing, even better.
Sure.
You can read a book, whatever it is. So that's where my love for watches really started. And back in the day, we didn't have, Fashionista. We didn't have Hodinky. We didn't have, and not even the forums, right?
Yes.
Or maybe I was too young for that. But I started just really diving into how beautiful it was to me,
Yes.
And it never was the intention of this is expensive. Like, I was too young for me to be,
Yeah.
you know, enamored by that type of stuff.
Yes.
And then I think that was a natural progression after that. Then I started, you know, doing errands for my parents and getting some money here and there. And then I got some other watches. My mom gave me a G-Shock when I was like 10, 11. And then I got my first watch when I was 14.
Mhm.
It was a Formula One Tag Heuer.
Okay, cool.
I'm
Yeah.
still looking for one of those.
Very nice.
Okay, so I have to ask. So, I mean, originally you're like born and raised in Venezuela,
Correct.
but your first timepiece you seen in Miami.
Correct.
Were you splitting your time between Venezuela and
So
Miami?
not really. The main thing is that it was very typical for Venezuelans back in the day to have like a secondary home in Florida. It's you know, it has been very well documented that the Bolivar back then, our currency, was extremely strong. So people had the luxury of actually flying to Miami because things were cheaper in the States
Really?
than buying it in Venezuela. So people will fly to Miami back in, I'm talking about, you know, early 90s.
Yes.
And you guys can already do the math about how old I am. And people will do that. You know, they spend either holiday, vacations, whatever it is.
Yes.
So that was a commonality back then.
Right.
Now, the funniest thing is, so when you were telling about your first timepiece that you loved,
Yeah.
the funniest thing that came to mind, and I think it came to all our minds, is like Fossil dive bezel
Yeah.
moon phase. I would never think that Fossil would produce a moon phase, and then at the same time that it would be cheaper than, let's say, a Nintendo.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting too about Fossil?
Yes.
So Fossil, I don't know if it was in the 90s,
Yeah.
but probably late 90s, early 2000s, they purchased a company called STP. So today,
Yes.
I don't know if it was back then. We can look and see if it was also earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But today, all Fossil watches have in-house movements.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep. They purchased a company called STP, which develops all their movements. STP develops all the movements for Zodiac. Because Fossil
Very
owns
interesting.
Zodiac.
Mm-hmm,
Very interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah. So if you buy a Fossil,
You shared that, yeah.
you're buying a watch that has an in-house movement, which is quite interesting.
Very
Mind
interesting.
blowing,
A little bit.
actually.
But I mean, but it's just like, of course, too, you know, you're aging yourself, but at the same time, you know, any timepiece with the moon phase complication, easily you're looking at,
You're curious.
you know, you're looking
Yeah.
at maybe low end, you're talking about maybe $2,000 and like, let's say like a Longines, but more prestigious
So your
timepieces.
first watch is definitely a substantial investment.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
But I'm saying, like, you saying that because I'm assuming the Nintendo back then was probably still maybe $100, $200.
Correct.
If it's cheaper,
Correct.
then like
I think it was comparative.
It probably
yeah.
costs as much as the strap on the
Yeah.
Patek.
Exactly.
That's
Bingo.
yeah. There we go.
yes,
That's a good perspective.
yes,
Crazy.
crazy.
But yeah, absolutely insane. And I think that was the main reason why, you know, my mother actually agreed for me to actually get the watch.
She's like, you don't want to, you want to watch it?
Yeah, and my mom always said like, this kid is so weird. Why would he want to watch? But she was happy because she's like, I mean, less.
She
time
probably thought it'd
for-
be better for you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
you're staring
like,
at the
but
TV,
less
yeah.
time on the video
Less time
games,
instead of
like
Yes.
blue on the
Yeah.
screen, whatever. Little she knew.
Do you still own that watch or no?
No, unfortunately, my family moves so many times because I'm not even from the capital of Venezuela, which is Caracas. I'm from a very small town in the mountains, in the Andes, called Mérida. So we moved so many times, and we're talking about between 8 to 12 hours, like on the road.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
to move from one city to the other. So we moved so many times that, you know, it got lost in all that thing.
Yes.
But the watch that I got after that, at least, you know, in the full metal thing, I still have it, which is the Formula One Tag Heuer that I was telling you guys about. And
How long did it take to get that one after the Fossil?
a few years. The Fossil was when I was around 6 years old. The Formula One was about 14 years old, so 8 solid years.
Mhm.
And that watch I still remember. I paid $600 for it, and that was the utmost money that I paid in my entire life for anything. So I think that that's a testament of me being already more, of an adult, young adult back then, having the responsibility of keeping my things. So I
Sure.
still have that watch. And then it was a natural progression. Then I jump into Baume Mercier. I have a Clifton chronograph, very nice watch. My mom gave me that one. We split it. We went half and half because I was saving money, and that was like a big jump in money. It was like $2,500, and that was so much money for me. And my mom is like, okay, you know what? You did good in school, blah blah blah. Let me split it for you. And then the interesting thing, and I believe that this has happened to every one of us,
Yes.
on this table, is once you pass a certain line of price point, you kind of lost respect from anything there and below that point,
Yes.
right? Which is ludicrous.
Yeah, you look at it differently.
right?
You look at it differently. I mean, I think, in today's day and age, there's still, I guess it depends on what price point you're talking about, because, being able to wear watches of a particular caliber where it's very elevated. Like my friend here is wearing a Simon Dow Paddock, complicated watch.
Indeed.
Right, but we still appreciate
90
other
grand.
brands that are like sub $5K,
Yes.
for different reasons.
To be fair,
doubt.
to that point though, the shit that's like sub 5K aside from like the OP is like really like fire shit. Like it's undeniable.
good.
Yeah.
It's very
Great.
good.
It's
very
undervalued.
Like it's undervalued, but
Absolutely.
it also has to stand out for some reason.
Yeah, there's something special about it
Yeah.
at that point, right? It's just not any timepiece. So,
Right.
I think that's an excellent point. You had a point to make?
No, but I would very, very, attesting to kind of like your passion and timepieces. When you were talking, I was thinking about just a few of the timepieces that you have on. On
Yeah,
the
you
table
brought some
here.
watches with you.
Yep.
You brought some watches with you outside of your brand, the MEC one. And I was like, what kind of made you make the decision? Because not only do you, when we're talking about price point, like not only do you love watches, you buy watches that are at a high caliber.
Yeah.
You're not talking about like, timepieces that are in, the $5,000 price point that we're
Right.
talking about. Like,
Right.
you're buying Vacheron Constantin, you're buying Cartier, you're buying Van Cleef. You own like, prestigious timepieces. What brought you to go ahead to say, you know what, I'm going to make my own watch? Because it's easier for you to just go ahead and spend the money and and just like,
No doubt.
I'll invest in somebody
doubt.
else's brand. What makes you want to invest in your own,
Yeah. That's a very good question. And actually, like I was saying before, I think that it was an amalgamation of me, like, time and place, right? Me wanting to really express myself artistically, me wanting to say to the world, hey, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm proud of, and this is what I can actually develop. But there was an actual catalyst for this actually to happen. And just to give you guys long story short, I was in a nice dinner meeting that I was invited by my friend, shout out to him, Max Busser from mb&f.
Shout out to Max.
Shout out to Max
Um,
Booster,
Shit.
And
my friend.
What a flex.
Max Booster
I'm
and
jealous.
friends.
Yes.
Exactly. So we were having dinner in Miami, and we were, going back and forth with different ideas, because back then I used to consult for almost a full year with Epigeon.
Yes.
They were my clients
What a flex.
for a while. And we were, chatting amongst many other things about my experience there. And Max was the one who told me in that, dinner, he's like, Carlos, why is it that, you just don't make your own brand? And I'm like, I laugh, of course, because I'm like, you're just janking my chain. But at the same time, I'm like, you, most than any other person that I know, knows how daunting that task is, knows how impossible for many reasons that could be. Not just the financial,
Sure.
but in, logistics, artistic, actually to find the motivation to not just hey, I want to make a one-off. No. Like to make something sustainable and to think it in a more, not just business-wise, because I didn't want it to, to make something like.
But it makes sense why he would mention that to you.
I mean,
think because of the circle that you find yourself in.
Yes.
Right? And when you look at like the success that Max Busser has had, when you look at the success that FP Journe is having, to find yourself in that group, you're already part of a certain ilk, right?
Indeed.
That understands what their clients are looking for in independent watchmakers. Kind of gives you an advantage.
No doubt. I agree 100% with you. And to piggyback on your point, like I really like this quote from Steve Jobs, that you never understand what you're doing until you look back, right?
Yeah, until it's done.
You have perspective.
Yes.
And then you start connecting the dots.
Yep.
And in that very moment when I'm cutting my steak, I'm like, this guy is freaking nuts. But then in perspective, when I sit down and it is the actual moment that something clicked, I say, you know what? I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to
like,
do
why
this.
not?
Yeah,
why not?
I feel like the whole time we're having that conversation with him, he's just like, why not?
That
exactly.
was correct. And that was that inception of the idea, that splinter in my head.
I think
that slowly cooked.
How great is it that you could be part of a group of people who are, entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs, creating something where in this particular group, they're encouraging you, do it.
Yes.
Versus what we know in terms of entrepreneurialism and starting businesses, being a business owner, anywhere else, they're viewing you as competition.
No doubt. And I think that's one of the, I believe that watchmaking and the watch industry, okay, let me rephrase that. In the independent movement in the watch industry, there's still that same concept of let's all collaborate.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, we wouldn't have the entire concept of watchmaking industry without collaboration.
Facts.
Okay?
Yes. Facts.
All these brands do it.
We
even
wouldn't
if they don't
have
want to admit it.
a Vacheron Constantin. We wouldn't have an Audemars Piguet. We wouldn't have a Patek Philippe if Jaeger didn't exist.
Oh,
Facts.
for sure.
Okay? We wouldn't have what, many other brands into the style of many, if Cartier didn't decide to make these timeless designs.
Yes.
And the entire concept of having a proper reliable watch, if Omega or Rolex didn't decide to do what they have been doing for so long, right?
Tudor wouldn't have a chronograph if Breitling didn't have a movement for it.
Yes. Correct.
There's
Indeed.
Yes.
MT1, right?
Yep.
Yes.
But the difference is, I think, with the micro brands,
they're all open about it.
They're open about it. They're unafraid or unashamed to talk about their bedfellows.
Speaking of Max,
sorry?
This Max,
Max did with Moser.
Well, he also has an LM101 that they made 30 of, the platinum blue dot.
Yeah, correct.
The back of it, the movement's made by Kari.
Yes.
The back of it says Kari Voetenlijnen on it.
Guys, let's even go back. Thanks to Max. Again, shout out to him.
Yes. Shout out to Max.
I wouldn't be here talking about this if it wasn't for him, right?
Yes.
He was one of those fellows that actually started all this.
Yes.
Because when he jumped from being in Jaeger-LeCoultre, one of the brands that I absolutely adore,
Yes.
And I collect for a very, very long time, he jumped to Harry Winston as head of watchmaking.
Yeah.
And he created the Opus line. And the Opus line was that celebration of independent watchmakers being upheld and being promoted and being celebrated by a big brand, by a big bucks, big corporation, and telling them, you know what? I want you to do what you're doing under my guidance, under my design, but I want you to do what you do.
Yes.
And today, you guys are, very well versed in this, same as me. You guys have seen how the meteoric rise on pricing for any FP Journe, but especially into their tourbillons or the
Rastronomics
resonance.
too.
Yes.
Absolutely insane.
Very few of them come to market, but when they do, they bang.
As soon as you see one of the Opus ones,
Yes.
Yeah.
especially, for example, if you guys can pull up one of those pictures, the Opus One Resonance Purple Dial
Yeah,
from
I know the
Harry
one you're talking
Winston.
about.
They only made, I don't know, like 5 or
Yeah.
10 of those pieces. They will go for more money than a subscription tourbillon 25 pieces
Yes.
of the first pieces that he made.
Yes.
Why? Because it's not because they're so rare, but because of the entire story that they,
Yes.
have. They hold them together.
Yes.
And you see everyone in that Opus series. You see the guys from Felix Baumgarten and from Erwerk. You see
Yeah.
people from the Bethune. You see people from Ludovic Valois did one, and so on and so forth. I
Sure.
Yes.
can talk about every single one, but he started all that, and then everyone started to really pushing forward. When they were doing that,
Yes.
let's remember also many of the independents were driving their own entrepreneurial careers.
Yes.
You have BHA, which is the conglomerate that Carrie had with, I believe, Sarpaneva and with Vianney Holter, Carrie Voudelainen, and F.P. Jorn,
Yeah.
that they were selling the CPCP line for Cartier, and
Yeah.
they had them on the pusher thanks to them.
Yes.
So I think that the entire concept of collaboration is slowly but surely, for the right smart minds in the watchmaking industry,
It's not as frowned upon anymore.
No, but it's also
and
coming back.
hopefully like
It's
embraced.
it's coming
Right?
back.
Yeah,
It's
definitely
being embraced.
It's definitely
If we see, for
embraced.
example, the last collaboration for Zenith that they did with Carrie Voudelainen,
Yeah.
and those prices went through the freaking roof with Philips.
Yeah.
That tells you the enormous opportunity you have right here.
Yeah.
And the other shout out that I want to give, talking about Max, what they did with Bulgari.
Oh, yeah.
First time one of these big brands make a collaboration with a smaller independent, and that watch is a banger.
Yeah, it's a banger.
Yeah, it's a banger.
Absolute banger.
Yes.
So I think that's a testament into this, thanks to that same concept, is that we decided to do MEC, and I'm more than happy to in the future do something
What's
like
cool about, I think, your perspective, much like some of the people that are involved in your life, you mentioned Max Booser, is that as a collector of a particular caliber,
Mm-hmm.
you're very much dialed in to what the expectations are from consumers like yourself
that. Indeed.
in terms of watch collecting. And you brought some watches for us this evening. So I would like to take a moment to go over. You brought 4 watches with us.
Yes.
I want to know what makes this collection so special, because I'm sure there's a bit that you can share about each one of these that'll lead us back to what you and your partners are doing with MEC.
No doubt.
Let's start with you have a Cartier Americain.
That's
It's a century.
Yeah, that's actually a Cintre.
Oh, it
from
is?
the
Oh, wow,
Privé
okay.
collection.
Let's pull that out.
So yeah, for sure. You want to start like from most recent to the oldest, or you want to start chronologically?
I don't know if it matters. Okay.
He's got some heat
I
in there.
think,
Yeah,
I think
yeah, yeah.
you
There's a
you
lot of heat
some
on the couch.
I think the focus of the evening is definitely MEC,
Yes.
but I want to go into, because I feel like I know you have way more watches than what you brought with us tonight.
No doubt.
So, but I know that this is curated for a particular point, and I want to get into that.
Absolutely. So why don't we start in the main concept of this I will say this little selection that I brought for you guys is what I like to call a time capsule.
Okay.
That it will
okay.
make me the collector that I am today, and the reason why MEC exists. So the first watch that I have right here, and the reason why I brought it is very important. This is 17,000 Rolex Oyster Quartz.
Yes.
So, white dial, extremely comfortable. The pricing of those watches has been absolutely insane. People wouldn't give 2 pennies for that.
Yeah, the last year we've seen a big increase.
Yeah,
in
and
terms of interest and price.
And I think going back to the concept of people starting to appreciate something because of how unique they are,
Yes.
and because they cannot get it anymore.
Yeah.
Rolex only produce quartz for about 10 years,
Yeah.
and that was it. No more, no
I think
less.
they're set to be somewhere maybe just a little north of 20,000 pieces that
Correct.
they produce.
Indeed. We recently saw the Philip option going the Ecole piece of the date. One of the only ones he's still going for, I believe the hammer price was 40.
Mm-hmm.
So insane. And the main reason why I brought that watch is that is the first heavy, emotionally attached watch that I have in my collection.
Yeah.
Because that was my everyday's Pop's watch, my father's watch.
It's let me, if I can make a comment, wearing an oyster quartz is a ballsy choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because there's so many people that are uneducated.
Yeah, they think it's fake.
That the first thing they want to say is that that's a fake Rolex.
It ticks.
And it ticks. And Rolex doesn't tick. And it's like, you guys have no clue.
You have no clue. You have no clue.
It's it's a Buckley oyster quartz too.
It is.
Yeah,
and
with tritium plots.
It's nice.
Even JC said Rolex that don't tick tock, and it's because it's not fake, right? It's a preconception of it.
It is a preconception.
But it is very important because this watch, I think that Roshan was telling you about it.
Yes.
This watch was almost stolen from my father's wrist in Venezuela.
Wow.
Yep. 3 dudes just went behind him to rob the watch, and my mom, shout out to Mama Ramirez.
Shout out to Mama.
She went straight up
She pulled
warrior Latina.
She took a chancla off?
Almost. She immediately went down and beat off one of the dudes, and the guy was screaming like, "What the hell? This lady's crazy!" And the dudes were so perplexed by getting beat that they just immediately run off, right?
Yeah.
And the watch was dingling. The watch was completely open.
Oh, they almost got him.
They almost got it, right?
Wow.
So when we were moving out of Venezuela, it was a little bit of a tragic situation because we had to move out of Venezuela for political reasons.
Yeah.
My dad and we have always been very close. And to every one of his children, every time that they graduated from college, he will give them a watch.
Yes.
And it was either Rolex of any kind.
Yes.
And I was the only one that I didn't receive one. And which is the most ironic because I'm the only watch collector in the house,
wow.
in the family. And I'm like, yo, like,
how many siblings?
What's going on?
Huh?
How many siblings do you have?
So I have 5 siblings.
So 5 other watches got handed out before you got one.
Yeah. And even my little sister got hers first. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here, my man? So time passed, and then my dad told me, hey, I need you home ASAP. He was, out already gone from Venezuela. I was still there, just taking care of some things for the family.
Sure.
And I run home. I arrived there, and I'm like, yo, what's up? And he's like, listen, I never gave you the watch because I sent it for service. They took forever. And because of the situations in the country, whatever.
It's finally back.
It's finally back. My mom was there. My mom gave me the watch.
Yeah.
And he's like, and I'm assuming that I don't need to tell you much about it, about the watch, because this is my actual personal watch that I'm giving directly to you. It's not something that I bought and I gave
one of the most personal.
Correct.
One of the most
And I will assume that you understand the meaning behind it.
Yeah.
And that's why this is a watch that it will never not just leave my collection, but it will never leave my family. I'm gonna give this one to my kids.
It's like a bubble bag case, which is kind of interesting.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Well, the thing, the coolest thing too, if you look at a oyster quartz and you look at a MEC 1, subconsciously or consciously, I was gonna say there's a bit of like the 70s design, and obviously, off camera we spoke about it, is like Art Deco is not necessarily a time.
Correct.
It's more of
It's a design philosophy.
It's a design philosophy, a culture. So Art Deco, even, we spoke about it before, even let's say, shout out to Reggie, who is a really, is an amazing, talented artist. He doesn't necessarily do Art Deco, but his genre of art eventually will be in that realm of what's memorable to an Art Deco. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. Like the idea of something that's timeless
Yeah, I
that
think, like,
continues to recreate itself.
Art has a way of resonating with whatever period it derives from.
Exactly.
And so that kind of carries itself forward, and you can always trace back through contemporary artists wherever they're, whatever they're referencing.
So you can never date it.
You can date it.
Well, yes, but I'm saying,
but,
like, it still stays relevant.
It stays relevant through really talented artists.
Yes.
They have a way about them where they're able to make the past feel fresh.
Yes.
Which I think is what he's getting at with what he's talking about with the MEC one.
Correct.
Referencing the oyster quartz.
No doubt. Then we jump after the oyster quartz. The other thing that I brought here, one of the 4 watches that I brought, is this is actually my first Vacheron. I bought this, I want to say about 8-9 years ago in Miami. And it was like a celebration for me because I started to do better financially. I was those
are always the most memorable pieces.
Exactly.
Yes.
And also back then, because people were not appreciating these watches.
Yeah, no, Vacheron was, I think, not really until after, like, during COVID did Vacheron really start, globally at least, getting the respect. Maybe in Switzerland and in other parts of Europe, but
maybe
not in
Asia
America
as well.
Asia, definitely.
Asia for sure. But for me, I always love Vacheron, and I'm being always the odd choice type of collector. And this watch just spoke to me immediately. This is the limited edition Yellow Hand, 2nd generation overseas. And I love that watch since the day one that I put it on the...
Reminds me a bit of the
boutique.
Everest.
It looks just like the Everest.
Actually, this is the watch that inspired the Everest.
Okay.
Into its conception, okay? Because it also has the titanium bezel and the titanium pushers. But the interesting part of this watch, I got it, brand new, fully discounted. People were not looking for it. I was wearing it, and people are like,
"What is that?
You're a weirdo. Why don't you have like a Royal Oak or something?"
Sure.
And precisely, I was always so proud of that because objectively, this is a better watch.
Yes.
It's also a Faraday Piguet. That also is being used, or it used to be used in the regular Royal Oak, and then offshore they still use it. But this has the complication of the big date.
Yeah.
The decoration is a little bit different, and this is a proper sports watch.
Yes.
This is 150 meter water resistance, anti-magnetic, shark resistance, and whatnot. And besides that, the reason why I brought it is because it also has a very important emotional connection with me. Which, if you guys see on the backside of that strap, that yellow, very, impulse, very shiny strap, is a piece unique strap that none other than, shout out to him, Christian Salmoni, did for me.
Wow.
I met with him. We, talk about it several times until he's like, you know what, Carlos, you have been on this Rubicon on different scenarios with the brand. Let me help you.
Wow.
It's gonna be my Christmas gift to you. That was last year. And I'm the only one with that strap, and it's very important because it's stamped Vacheron Constantin, which they don't do for 2nd generation. And so it's very, very interesting. And again, it's another important step for me into the watch industry, just being pulled in into being, just that little more special type of treat and idea for me to actually be even more motivating to continue my journey. That watch has seen the most risk time for me in the last 4 years or so.
Really?
It looks well loved.
Yeah, it has been. It definitely has been.
But now diving into, because you talk about just like, your relationships and these kind of things, like, I already called you like the Dos Equis dude. Tell me, like, kind of where these relationships stem from, because you have such an extensive background and you have so many outside interests. You collect many things.
Yeah.
You collect many talents. you collect many languages.
Indeed.
You know, you have an extensive educational background and all these kind of things. So kind of let's dive into kind of
Sure.
like, you know, your outside interests, what brought you to this kind of point, etc. and so forth.
That's a great question, and actually, that's circling back with the concept of, for me, it's extremely important, the idea of relationship. If there's no interaction with another human being, for me, just as you know, as you guys know about this industry, the flex or the idea of I have something cooler than you and whatever, it has really dominated the new market or the new idea of collectors, right? Back in the day, because that level of interaction didn't exist, it was mostly about what does it mean to you.
Yeah.
You know, I have, a you listener then, and it means this and this and this for me.
Yes.
Or I have a Gerard Perigo, or I have whatever it is.
Mhm.
It was the emotional connection that you have for the watch, and the fact that you actually use your watch, and people didn't see it as investment asset class, which is absolutely fine. Actually, I do that for a living. But going back to that point, I have my background is in law.
Yes.
In Venezuela, I went to law school, and that really helped me to, change a little bit that brain chemistry of understanding on how things work, how interact with people, how doing business, etc. Many things.
Right.
But then once I moved out of that space, which it wasn't very extent, I decided to tell my dad that I don't see myself practicing law as a lawyer. I think that I have a lot of creativity, and I think that I have way more to give out to people. No disrespect to people that love practicing as an attorney.
Yes.
But for me, it was like I want to do something more, and I have a different calling, and I try different things, and I want to like run up the idea of being a consultant. That's what I became really. Trying to find out ways of how to help people with that perspective, those ideas, and that creativity that I have. And that really helped me to move from being a guy with his backpack and his laptop going around to later have a company with 40 employees in Venezuela, in Caracas, Venezuela. And then I have the opportunity of starting the first TV station in Latin America, online TV station back in 2006. And that also, everything that I did, it really pushed me to try different things and to get outside of my comfort zone into things that I barely knew. Like, what the hell does a 19, 20-year-old kid back in the day know anything about that when he's going to law school, right? And I had, again, to reinvent myself, to get new skills, to learn new things, and to understand how to adapt, also to interact with different mentality people. Because in law, you are, in a homogeneous type of environment.
Right.
But when you go into creative, into arts, into cinema, TV,
You're with
whatever,
all different kinds of people.
correct.
At that point,
You're with journalists, you are with producers, you are with any kind of other type of professionals. So that really gave me that, I believe, tact into how to adapt and to talk to any kind of person. And I'm very glad for that. And then after that, which is what I'm doing today, I work in finance, I work in private equity, and I decided to transform, besides MEC, I decided to transform my passions into my day-to-day job, which is investing in real estate. I love real estate, cars and watches.
Yes.
And that's the other thing that I love. I love cars. And I think that anything mechanical speaks to me, anything that has a vast idea of design, and anything that has been made for the pure enjoyment of the soul, I'm going to be there. That's why I love wine. I love cars. I love women. I love watches.
There we go.
Yo, I'm there.
It comes out.
Right? Right? I think that's in a capsule what I'm all about. You know, it's about adapting, about people, about different opportunities. Correct.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Indeed.
in your experience, something that you shared with me that the guys don't know of.
We're about to.
Let's see.
This is funny. So let's play. You know what? We've never done this before. Let's play a mid game between this episode. Usually we play a game at the end. So Carlos has a hidden talent. And he shared it with me, and I had no clue. I would have never thought this in a million years. He has a hidden talent. I'm gonna give you guys one guess. Guess what it is, and then
How the hell are we gonna guess it?
No, I'm just saying like anything
It's a hidden
obscure.
talent.
Just anything obscure. What you think he made?
Yeah, you could hula hoop.
He could juggle.
Okay, juggle,
Hula hoop.
hula hoop. Can you share your something that?
He's gonna say some shit you never even heard of.
No, he told me. That's why I was like, oh.
He told you one of them.
Needed a clue.
Yeah, where's the clue
Give him a
at?
clue. Give him a clue.
Pregnant pause.
no.
What's the clue, dog?
I'm trying
Come on.
to find a good
I'm
clue
that man.
because I don't want to give it away. Let's just do this. Okay, Chuck Norris.
There you go.
You know,
Knows karate?
Yeah, I practiced martial arts my entire life.
Okay.
And I'm actually a
Black belt?
Black belt in ninjutsu.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
You like
yeah.
you kick some ass.
Yeah.
With a mech on.
Yeah, it you know, it really forms you. And I'm very glad for that because it gives you a lot of like, you know, form and perspective.
Well, it gives
into
you
life.
form of body and form of mind, right?
Indeed.
Yeah.
The
I'm a
form of
little-
body I have
yeah.
lost a little bit. But the form of mind
Yeah,
for
we're in the
sure
same boat.
is definitely
But
something
no, that makes sense. You carry yourself in a very particular kind of way.
indeed.
To describe it as militant wouldn't do it justice because it's not militant, but that's the closest I think that you
Disciplined?
can get to it. Well, yeah. The word discipline is interesting because discipline speaks to you being. I think a lot of people perceive discipline as like cutting yourself off or something,
Yeah.
but there is the process of having a discipline rather than being disciplined.
Yeah.
Right? Which you need to be disciplined to have a discipline, but you do strike me as someone that has something else that they ascribe to. It's very important that you adhere to, and it's just like this is part of who I am and how I carry myself, how I engage with people.
It's a voice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised. That's cool.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Let's segue into.
I was a blue belt.
We got
when I
two
was
more
like
watches.
8.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Let's segue into.
We got two
Oh
more
yeah,
watches.
for sure. So interesting about the next watch. This is Van Cleef & Arpels. Monsieur Arpels is a very interesting watch because this is Salmondal, and that's one of the giveaways about why this watch is so strange, unique, if you will. Is because Van Cleef is rare that they do anything Salmondal. And please, guys, the viewers or the listeners, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the only Van Cleef & Arpels, Monsieur Arpels that they have done with a Salmondal.
Yeah, I've never seen this.
And it's very interesting because it's a tribute to team members. Up to it was launched in 2006, and this was not sold to the public. This is a watch that was only sold to team members. And again, just make a quick math. But Cleef & Arpels is mostly a brand that appeals to women.
Yes.
So mostly, you know, statistically, of the people that work that are part team members in Van Cleef & Arpels are going to be women.
Yes.
This is a fairly large watch. It's 40 millimeters.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's not a watch that many women, especially back then,
Would wear.
wouldn't wear because, you know, women wearing bigger watches became on vogue. I want to say recently, you know, I want to say maybe 5-6 years ago.
Yes. Very true. Very true.
More or less. So just with those numbers, the amount of watches in the wild that they actually sold of this version, I believe that it must be on the 2 digits, no more than that, you know? So it's a fairly rare watch, and it has a very special nomenclature in the back that is HH, and it's high horology.
Yes.
And that, you know, I haven't opened it yet. I will let you guys know as soon as I do, but it must have a high horology movement. and that was confirmed by a ex Richmond guy watchmaker that he immediately told me he jumped into it, which is one of my partners at MEC. Shout out to Judd. He told me I'm very interested to see what is underneath the hood of that watch.
Yes.
And that's why I brought it, because I think that the story is extremely interesting and, you know, appealing to the rarity of something that it's saying still, it might not be super expensive or anything, but it's very interesting to me.
It's very special.
Because it's rare, it's
Yeah.
special,
Yeah.
it's, you know, objectively special. And that's why I brought it.
Can you share how you acquired it?
Absolutely. It was open like any other person trying to find a secondary market watch. This was through an inquiry through Chrono 24. I asked the guy, so the watch pop out a day before I went in, right?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I go in, I see the watch, and I immediately say, like, what the hell is this? I was already, you know, I toying with the idea of
Right.
going for a Van Cleef & Arpels
Mm-hmm.
since when they started working with Agenor and they did the jump hour,
Yep.
which I really love, and they have some other very interesting watches. But that, you know, that appeared, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell this is, but I love salmon dials. I don't have that many salmon dials.
That many, so you have more than one?
And
You have more than one?
Yeah. Yeah. But you know, it really caught my attention just because of all that and because the price. I mean, I'm like, this is not that expensive. Let me go check it out.
Because
The
it's less
guy-
than 10 grand?
The guy less than 10 grand.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Less
Bigger.
than 5 grand.
Whoa.
Wow.
No. I got a
Like
bargain.
Wait, so now do
Huh?
you
Paid
know?
3.
I paid $3,200.
So do you believe that this came from the original owner? Was this from an employee?
It was
Yeah,
because
that's from
That's why I was
Yeah.
like, can you share this?
I,
Because
I have the paperwork.
somebody's in trouble.
No. They
too
Only
late
if
now.
you mess it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they used to have a clause that you need to keep the watch for a very specific amount of time. You know, more than 10 years pass.
Yes.
So it's fair game.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay. That was
uh,
1906 to 2006.
Correct.
So it's, I mean, almost 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. So it's fair game. And I do have original papers, boxes. The guy was very cool. If you're watching this, thank you,
We
bro.
hope you're watching.
Yeah. And
Yes.
he gave me like 3 straps with the watch. So pretty cool. And
Yeah, he never wore that.
it was unworn.
Yeah, no, it's
Unworn.
Yeah, you could tell.
Unworn. Insane. Automatic, by the way.
Yeah.
And then the last watch that I brought is the most recent acquisition that I got.
Oh, wow, okay.
It is
The case back sticker's still on it.
Yeah, exactly. I barely used it a couple times, and this is the Tank Centre Collection Privé from Cartier. This is the rose gold anthracite dial, and it's a very cool watch. Extremely limited. It's only I believe that 120 pieces per market per metal. So I was very glad that I could get one. Not from the
Pretty.
American market, by the way. That was a very interesting watch because my girlfriend, shout out to Tracy.
Shout out to Tracy.
Exactly. She's originally from Hong Kong, and we went to visit her family, and you know, we were going around here and there, and we got invited to an event from Cartier, and we went to this event, very nice private event and whatnot. And right then and there, the lady, the sales representative, asked me, "What are you looking for?" And I'm like, anything collection privé, like I'll freaking take it, you know.
Yes.
And she's like, "Okay, but which one in particular are you looking for? Do you have the Tank Chinois?" "Yes, we do." I'm like, "Okay, let me see it. Can you sell me one?" And she's like, "Yes, of course."
Wow.
I'm like, I'm like, this is a glitch on the Matrix. Yeah, definitely. Let me have one.
So
Um,
no, I'll let you finish because I want
Yeah.
to ask you something. Because now we're kind of diving a little bit into the industry because obviously we are in the industry as well.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll ask it outright because I do have a really good friend who was able to get an application privé piece, but not in the U.S. market. And I understand that the U.S. market is very competitive. We've got a lot of ball players. We got a lot of dudes that just could just do it.
Correct.
But I find it very crazy that, like, you know, in these other markets, they don't have those collectors that, you know, because like you said, like, how do you walk into an event and you can just buy an application piece?
Well, I think when he finishes the story, we'll get there. I think it was mainly timing.
It was.
Yeah.
It was absolutely. You
A year ago, probably not.
You hit it on the nail, and
Yeah.
I think again, same concept of right time, right place, type of scenario. I got to Hong Kong, and it was recently open to everyone because of COVID, right? We took nice trip over there and whatnot, and once we got there, I started realizing that many places have insane pieces. And every time I went into one of these ADs or boutiques, whatever it is, they started immediately.
They'll just throw it at you.
Bro, insane. But it goes even deeper than this. People, these sales associate will bring out a calculator and do the math in front of you. Will this price be okay for you? I'm like, did I tell you that I want the watch? And so I didn't even bargain, and the person is already throwing at my face 20% off.
Wow.
And then, I'm like, well, you know what? I don't. Oh, okay, that's fine. I understand. You're a businessman. Let me give you 25%. What about 25%? Yeah. And I'm like, I mean,
You're
I don't.
right
You know what?
Yeah,
I get it. I'm being mean to you. I'm being, very, very square.
40%.
Let me give you 35%. I'm like, yo, stop it, my man. I don't want to buy your whatever it is that they were offering me. But it was very, that translate to any other brand that was going around checking out. In the case of Cartier, when they invited me for the event and whatnot, I have to say, very different the type of events that they make in Asia, in Hong Kong, than what they make here. They over there is insane that the way that they treat you like freaking royalty, my guy. The only times that I've seen that they treat you like that into any kind of event that brands make is because you are a big baller, that you are, throwing coin at their faces like crazy. Over there, I'm a new guy. They don't know me, and they're treating me like royalty. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I might have to buy like a strap or something because I'm gonna feel bad if I don't buy anything. And this lady tells me, we're just releasing the Chinois. So I'm like, maybe I'm lucky because they're just releasing this watch, and I know how difficult it's gonna be to release, especially because the majority of the Privé collection, I have a very bigger wrist, as I was saying. So I like bigger watch, and the Tan Chinois actually works very, very well. And I said, okay, listen, if I can get one for sure, I think for me, I can enjoy the watch, and at the same time, it's a great investment. So for sure. And she tells me, we're not gonna have it ready because we're not releasing it right now. Do you have anything else in mind that I can give you right now? And I'm like, I don't know what is going on right here. I'm not gonna ask. I'm not that dumb. But I said to her, listen, I always love the Tan Centre, the rose gold, and la. And she's like, let me ask my manager. She takes 10 minutes, come back, and she's like, would you like to get that watch? And I'm like, I'm dreaming. What the hell is this? And immediately say yeah, because it's like being offered a 15202 or 16202 at this point, a Royal Oak Jumbo and a Nautilus, at the same time, and saying, no, I'm not that insane. I say immediately, yeah, give it to Papa. And I picked up the two watches, and she's like, anytime that you're looking for something else, just let me know.
So you got the Chinois and the Century?
Yeah.
Wow.
The Centre, I actually wore it while I flew here, and the Chinois still has not been delivered, but I'm expecting to pick it up anytime soon when I fly back to Hong Kong. But I think is that's why I was telling you guys, it's like a time capsule of my collection, of my collecting days, that I'm still a collector on my very heart. I'm gonna continue buying watches because it's what I do. I think until I start creating the same watches with the same type of complication that I satisfied with in MEC, but there are certain things that we're not ever gonna be able to replicate.
Yes.
So I will still buy a tungsten thread. I will still buy a reversal furniture so cool, and
Yes.
so on and so forth.
That's what I was gonna ask too, as far as like, because you just recently unveiled the final proto for the MEC 1.
Yep.
My next question to you would be, what's next for MEC? Because now you're talking about complications. It's very interesting that you kind of go straight into a timepiece that's very complicated on a mechanical design perspective. Like, if you're gonna do it, like, you just like went all the way out. Usually everybody goes safe with just time only. You may go time and date, and most of the time people don't. It's usually time only. So when you're talking about complications, because you are a student of the game, what's the next complication, or what's next for MEC? Like, when is production? Because I know, you've already been taking orders.
Yes.
What's rolling out? Tell us what's up for 2023.
Good question. So let me unpack that. I'm not a betting man, but I very astute what you just said. I like to really see trends, and one of the reasons why I decided that the best route for us to start was with a jumping hour is because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing time and time again and expecting different results. Every single person, every single watch brand starts with a time only watch, the big majority of them. So the only thing that you have to produce differently is your interpretation of design and your mechanics, your under the hood, your movement.
Yes.
So you can make an absolutely amazing movement, but if it's a time only, what is it that you're bringing to the table? So you need to be either a Recepi with a Cribia that you bring out the AK line that is very strange for many people. And let's be honest, it wasn't well received from day one. It actually took a steep dive, and people started to recognize it many years after Recep released it, and also started paying more attention when he released the chronometric contemporary. Either you have that, and then you have the fame and the accolades, and you have a hackman on your atelier or whatnot, or you are under the wing of a big corporation, of a big brand name.
Yes.
There are many brands doing that, or people like, for example, just this is not even premeditated, but I'm just thinking on the top of the dome. The people from Norway, they release very interesting watches.
Sure.
And they have the that push, that turbo, that supercharger of using Tudor movements.
Yeah.
That's a big flex.
Yes.
I didn't want it to play either or.
Yes.
I think that what I wanted to do was going fully independent, going more into the route, into the mentality of a Vianney Holter, of Andrea Estrella,
Yes.
of even, the same Francois Paul Journe. That it's not that I think that I'm like them. Not at all. I'm not a watchmaker. I will never put that tagline on me. I just love design. I just love watches. And I wanted to do, as I said before, I wanted to do something and put out something into the market that I could not buy myself, for myself, with any amount of money.
Yeah. I think a jump hour is a really good choice. It's, to me, in terms of complication, especially right now with the popularity that we've seen in terms of watch collecting, with the oncoming and the fervor of new watch collectors, it's one of those complications that are slowly becoming a low-hanging fruit in terms of people who aren't familiar with very many complications are becoming familiar with jump out.
Yeah.
And they're still just rare enough. You don't see them. They're not super commonplace.
No, it's not.
That for people who are very well seasoned, who are familiar with the complication, don't have very many brands that offer it to them.
Yes.
And to people who are new to watch collecting, it's still very unique and different enough that you may be willing to take the wrist.
Indeed.
What's the price point of one of these?
So the MEC one, the subscription launch edition in stainless steel, it has an introductory price of $21,500.
Okay,
$21,500. Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
that's
And
great.
the main reason is one of the things, continue with that idea of explaining the concept behind it, is the big majority of the brands. We have more than 2,000 brands,
Mhm.
you know, and we have many of them being independents.
Yes.
And we have people that have been intergenerational into watchmaking.
Yes.
And unfortunately, they do not make it into the market. And one of the reasons why I started studying why that happens statistically is because they don't have this triangle of being very good at design and having that heart element, being very good at watchmaking, having that, you know, engineering element, and being very good at business
Yes.
Right.
and developing right way, paving the road for the brand.
Sure.
Yes.
So if you don't have that trilogy, if you don't have that trinity over there, you're not going to be successful, or at least the numbers are not on your favor.
Right.
So thinking like that, what we decided to do, what I designed it into the entire scope of the brand, is let's be very intentional with the pricing, not trying to make a quick buck right now.
We're
Yeah,
trying to build
right?
a brand. Yeah.
For two reasons. Number one, we need to prove ourselves because we're new.
Yes.
But at the same time, even more difficult is trying to prove ourselves as a brand, as an independent brand, being from America, being
Yes.
Americans,
Yes.
Right.
right? Because we have different backgrounds. Like Eric, one of my partners, he's originally from Hong Kong, so he's Asian. We have Judd, he's originally from South Carolina, so he's like cornbread fed American.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm Latino and from Venezuela. And, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know many Latinos in the watch game, right? Many collectors, but not in the watchmaking industry.
No,
yeah,
you're-
not in the
you're-
watchmaking industry.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that being said, one of the things that I realized, being brutally honest with ourselves, is that we were facing the odds.
It's an uphill battle.
Correct.
Yes.
It was. So if the price on top of that was gonna be steep, then I'm putting a knife to my
Super
own
prohibitive.
neck. You know,
Yes.
Yeah.
it makes no sense.
No.
So I'm like, you know what, guys? Let's make it introductory. Let's cover all our expenses. Let's have just a little bit of space to gain some money back and to push the next production forward.
Mhm.
So going back into your next question was, what is it that we're moving forward towards? After this is only 50 pieces.
Mm.
Every single MEC baseline model will be made in 39 millimeters. This is 39 millimeters. And the reason is I wanted a Goldilocks type of size that everyone could wear.
Everybody,
universal.
You know, universal.
Very universal.
I have a bigger wrist, it looks great.
Sure.
You have a smaller wrist, it looks great.
Yeah.
My partner, Eric, he has a smaller wrist and it looks fantastic on him.
Yeah.
So we said, listen, I think that we have something here, very interesting, very important, that we need to continue pursuing, but being smart about it. I have a plan of 20 years for the brand.
Wow.
And in that sense, we want to reinvest into the next 5 to 10 years, to reinvest into the company, to buy our own machinery,
Yeah.
our own CNC, our own, métier d'art, into the little atelier that we want to start creating
Yes.
here in the States. We still don't know where, of course,
Yes.
but we're going to find a place, a physical place, where we're going to be able to start our own atelier, our own manufacturing, if you will, and
Yes.
start little by little, in different percentage, trying to do our own thing.
Right.
If we need to buy the sapphire from Geneva, so be it.
Sure.
But we want to get to a point that we are making 40% of the watches made in America, 60% of the watches made in America,
That's awesome.
until we can say it is a US made watch.
Yeah.
Right? We are already into R&D of the different variations of other watches that we have. I have already designed in black and white the next 8 MECs, and every one is a different complication. And what I want is to excel at each of those complications.
Yeah.
We have from jump hour, we have travel time jump hour with day-night indicator. That will be the MEC 2.
Whoa.
Is a travel time.
You heard it here first.
disco
We heard it here
volante.
first.
Yeah, this is just being released. That information.
Wow.
We have in the lines, in the design, in the pipe works, a chronograph retro Mono pusher.
Awesome.
We have annual calendar all the
You
way
got a lot
up.
cooking.
Yes,
Got a lot cooking.
all the way up to a grand complication.
So,
Yes.
one of the things I wanted to get to, because we actually hadn't covered on camera yet, is and we'll start to wrap it up. But MEC, the name.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean? Where it came from? Where did it come from?
Yes. So it has triple entendre, the concept.
Okay.
Right. The first one being it is actually very simple. The initials of the three founders.
The initials are
which is Carlos, Eric, and Wood. The W that we just pull it back upside down, which
okay,
is the
there we
M.
go.
Yes.
For Wood, which is last name for Jod. That was the first interpretation of the brand, but then it's because it sounds mechanical, so we really like it, right? Mechanical. And then we instated the company being Micro Engineering Company, which is the initials of what it would be. So it has that triple interpretation of the name brand.
Awesome.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it was such an honor to have you on the couch with us.
Thank you, guys. It actually run quite fast. So
where can
that
we get the
is
watch?
having fun. Huh?
Where can we get the watch?
So when we are working direct to customer, we're not gonna work with
So you're
any
DTC.
idea, at least for right now.
Okay.
So you guys can go to mecwatches.com,
MECWatches.com.
mecwatches.com,
Love
and
that.
also at MECWatches in Instagram. And what we encourage to do is to go to the website, and there's a little link or a little button that you can inquire, send us a message, send us an email inquiring for a piece, and just jumping into our waiting list.
And you guys on social media?
Yes. Instagram mostly. Right now we're only working on Instagram.
Okay.
We expect to expand a little bit more, maybe
What's
YouTube
the
and
Instagram
whatnot.
handle?
At MEC Watches, MEC Watches.
Okay.
And for now we're only gonna be there, but by the time that we have more content, more like long-term content,
expand.
whatnot, we're gonna expand into
Awesome.
that. Yes.
Yes. That's amazing. So, to wrap things up, thank you for having us. Well, for us
Being able to have you.
For yes, I'm sorry. I got tongue tied.
It's the
You
wine.
having us, us having you being on the couch, etc., and everything else. Thank you all to who listen, to who watch.
Sure.
You can see us on all DSPs, YouTube, Spotify, Apple,
TikTok
Google,
for the kids.
TikTok for the kids.
Shout out to Get Bezel.
Shout out to Get
Well,
Bezel.
shout out to Bezel, but it's getbezel.com. So if you're
GetBezel.com.
looking for a new timepiece right now or the season, what have you,
Yes.
visit getbezel.com, and they have some amazing choices. As a matter of fact, at least one or two of the watches we saw tonight, you might be able to get on getbezel.com. So
Check it out.
check it out.
And our promotional code, get $250 off.
Wrist Check Pod.
Wrist Check Pod.
That'll
Nice.
do it.
Listen.
But absolute pleasure having you.
Thank you guys. It was my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for
yeah,
the time. And let's definitely repeat this because he went like this.
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah. The next time, you'll have a couple more pieces out.
Hell yeah.
And what's awesome is, quite clearly you're a serial entrepreneur.
Yes.
And you keep a very interesting crowd of people. And, I think it speaks volumes about the company that you keep, having, gentlemen like Max Buser encourage you to start your own brand when he is literally in the thick of things with his own.
Mm-hmm.
I think not only says a lot about who you are as a person and a watch collector that he might admire, but also says a lot about the state of the industry, especially amongst independent brands.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me very excited. So,
Yes.
Kudos to you, and
Thanks.
thank you for joining us this evening.
Yes,
Muchas
yes.
gracias a ustedes. Thank you so much.
All right.
Could I be the first person on the list for the chronograph?
Woo!
You got it.
Woo! You heard it here. Wrist Check
No
Pod.
discounts.
All right. Episode 42. 44.
44.
Sorry. Peace.
Later. Thank you guys.